There we go. All right. We are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. Hope everyone's having a good start to their day. Hopefully a good start to their week. I know it's halfway through the week already, but hope you guys are having a good week so far. If you guys don't know me and who I am, my name is John or Johnny, either or, from the Johnny Crypto YouTube channel. And today I'm here to talk about my favorite trading method, which is ABCs. So if you guys are curious about what ABCs are, maybe you aren't aware of what ABCs are, pretty much all we're looking for is groups of trends. Sorry, trends and groups of threes, right? Whether it's to the upside or to the downside. All right. Once we identify the setup, we are going to be basically looking for reversals past a established pivot of the previous A. Now, when we're looking for a a bearish ABC, we're looking for uptrend, right? So initially we want to look for a uptrend, a pullback, and a continuation higher. All right, and once price gets back below, maybe retest, then we can look for, then we can enter as soon as price crosses back below the A. But this only works if the C wave extends past the previous A. There are situations where sometimes maybe you don't get a maybe some sort of double top situation or maybe a lower high. Unfortunately, that does not count as an ABC. You need to have a continuation past the previous A. And same thing goes for the bullish setup. Instead of for uptrends, we're looking for downtrends. So we have an initial downtrend, a pullback, and a continuation lower. And then all you're going to do is wait for price to get back above the previous A and maybe get a retest, but we're entering as soon as price is crossing above that pivot. So yeah, that's pretty straightforward. I'm going to go over a bunch of examples here, and that's the bread and butter of what my TA is and how I approach trading. We use this to time reversals and possible continuations of larger trends. And sometimes we get really good entries, like we got the exact bottom of or at least as of now, the exact bottom of the Bitcoin bear market, as well as we've gotten some good shorts on before that. We were able to short the FTX dump before it happened. And there's a bunch of examples I can go over of good trades that we made over the last year or so, or 2 years of me doing this. But let's see. But yeah, that is the main bread and butter of what my TA and how I approach my analysis. Throughout today's stream, if you guys are, whether you're here in the Discord or whether you're here in the stream on YouTube or Twitch, if you guys have any questions for me throughout today's session regarding ABCs, entries, anything in between, please feel free to let me know. I will do my best to keep my eye on chat and keep up with chat, as well as if you guys are here in the YouTube stream, or sorry, here in Discord, if you guys have any questions while I'm explaining something, please feel free to speak up. And I will also be doing my best to keep an eye out on chat. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave them. So yeah. Now that we got over the main ideas of how I approach my trading, the first thing we're going to do is actually look at a larger time frame on BTC. That's what I usually like to do. The best thing, or the best way, in my opinion, to go ahead and approach trading and how to get a better idea of what possibly could be going on in the market is to start on a macro perspective and work your way in. So the first thing I like to do is focus on a macro, and from there, I like to mark out the beginning or the end of a larger trend. This red line here, it basically marks the end of the bull market, beginning of the bear market. And then from there, we can go ahead and start looking at what could be happening. So if we start from the top here, the main goal is to see if we can identify an ABC. Now, in my opinion, we have a nice clear and cut ABC here with each individual set of ABCs within each wave. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to happen every time, but when it does happen, it gives you a little bit more confidence that a structure is completed when a structure has its own ABC within each individual or each larger set of waves. So, and sometimes what will end up happening, which I'll explain here shortly, is we have to ask ourselves, if we have an established ABC is this the beginning of something or the end of something? What I mean by that is sometimes what you'll find primarily on the smaller time frames is that you'll have an ABC, all right, regardless of what direction. And what'll happen is the position will initially go in your favor, all right, it'll cross below the pivot or cross above, depending on which direction. And it eventually will find some sort of stopping point and then actually go back in the against your original direction. All right. And what ends up happening is that actually becomes part of a larger A to a B to a C. Now, like I said, this is more common on smaller time frames, but it absolutely can happen more or it could happen on larger time frames regardless. And if this does happen, we need to consider we need to consider the idea that this could be happening. What I mean by that is we do have an ABC here, right? The question is if this is the beginning of something. This is perhaps a larger A. We're looking for a larger B. And potentially, if this is going to be a part of a larger setup, we need to get a continuation lower to actually put in a lower low past that 15.4K mark. So if this is going to be the case, and in my opinion, this is going to be probably the worst case scenario. I think that there's the different options in between that we could talk about. But for me personally, in my semi-professional opinion, I think that we do have a good chance of seeing this happen, but I'm not too confident just yet. We have a couple areas of support to break below us before we can even consider this. I'm not trying to jump the gun and look at the larger picture too exact yet, if that makes sense. But that's the goal, is to kind of paint a picture of what could be going on. The other case scenario is more of like an in-between. Now, what I mean by that is maybe this ABC is done, right? We have an ABC on this uptrend, all right? And this is actually part of a larger A. We're working on some sort of B, and then we're going to get a continuation higher for a C. That can only give us a higher high, or we can go ahead and actually aim for about 48K, which I'll explain why I came up with that number here shortly. But that is kind of more of the middle of the road option, or slightly more bullish. I would say something's a little bit more bearish in the mid to longer term, but overall bullish in the longer term or macro term is maybe this A that we just established here, right, is part of a larger A. Maybe this B wave isn't done yet. Maybe we get one more drop, a retest, continuation lower, something like that. And then we can start talking about a possible continuation higher. And then perhaps maybe make a larger push to the upside and maybe put in new highs. I'm not too convinced that we're actually going to be putting in new all-time highs anytime soon. The timeline of which I think that usually does happen is around 3 to 6 months after the bull run, after the halvening. That's when bull runs tend to happen, kind of in that time frame. So I think we're about a little bit less than a year out, like 11 months. So keep that in mind. So probably around late summer, early fall of this year is probably when we'll start to make a push to the upside. But that's, I'm not trying to be too optimistically bullish yet, but I'm letting you guys know that regardless of what situation you look at, either we're done dumping or this is part of a larger potential structure, which when we go into the smaller time frame, I'll talk about a little bit more. But just to give you an idea, those are the main scenarios I have in my head for what I think BTC could be doing in the longer term. All right. Let's see. Let's go down to our normal trading time frame. So usually when I trade, I like to stick to a 1 to 2 hour. You guys can do the same. All right. It also depends on the size and the resolution of your monitor. I've had students out there who have 42-inch 1440p monitors with higher resolution, higher screen real estate, or more screen real estate. It really depends. The most important thing is not necessarily time frame itself, it's perspective. All right. Being able to look at an entirety of a larger trend is a good enough place to start for me. For me, that's about the 2 hour. Like I said, experiment. If you have a bigger monitor or if you have a higher resolution monitor, you might be able to get away with a 1 hour or a 30-minute. But the most important thing to do, and when you're viewing your actual trading perspective, is to make sure you zoom out, right? Because I can go to a 2 hour. I see this mistake be made a lot. I can go to a 2 hour and do this. Look at every, even though it's not going to be clear, you can still go in and zoom in on very small parts of price action. The goal when doing it and looking at a larger time frame, a larger perspective, is, like I said before, to see as much as you can of what is going on in a larger trend. So with that being said, I'm going to go to 1 hour because I'm just going to be focusing on this area here pretty much from the top down, or this most recent top. All right. So once we look at everything from the top of this previous trend, the beginning of this downtrend, we need to identify possible scenarios of what could be going on. The first thing I see when I'm looking at this is that we have an A to a B to a C, and that's actually part of a larger A. We have an A to a B to a C, a larger B. All right, we actually have a larger A. Did it put in a double bottom? I have to double check. I'm pretty sure that is the low. Let me just double check, actually. Yes. Okay. That is the low. That was great. So we currently have an A to a B to a C situation. All right. So now that we have established our ABC, we mark out our bullish pivot. All right. Because remember, this is a bullish setup. And as long as price is above the 25,775 region, that is going to be an area of which I am taking a long position at. That's something that I'm looking for this to be a possible bullish continuation setup to where we can push higher in case, if the larger idea of one of the possible larger ideas that I talked about earlier is that maybe this is a larger pullback and we're going to continue higher. I play these kind of scenarios, even though if I might have a overall bullish or bearish bias, I'm more willing to play both sides just in case I am wrong. And even though I might say or I might discuss about being bearish, to me, if the setups are there and it's clear in your face, you can't miss it. To me, it's worth trying because you never know what price is going to do. And that's mostly our job as ABC traders, is that we're not here to predict exactly where price is going to go. All we're doing is allowing price to give us the opportunities that it wants to give us to take trades. We take the trades as needed and allow price action in the market itself to dictate where it wants to go, regardless of what side of the coin that we're trading. And hopefully, the goal when doing this is catching the right opportunities, making the right trades, and taking advantage of as much price action as we can. But that is primarily a bullish setup I'm looking for, something to illustrate as well. I am still currently holding a short position from this previous bearish ABC. The reason why I'm doing this is because on a larger time frame, all right, going back to this previous uptrend, we have a larger A to a possible B to a possible C. All right, and within that C wave, I took an ABC as a potential reversal pivot. So as of now, those shorts are currently still in our favor, but until we get either continuation or a reversal off of this setup, depending on which direction this wants to go, we'll just have to wait and see. And I'm not taking profit. I'm not letting this go just in case we do continue to drop further. But same case scenario when it comes to the bullish position. The main goal of this and how I take my trades is I'll illustrate it for you guys quick. But I am looking to make the most out of a position. I'm trying to hit major moves. I'm not trying to, just take profit at a local resistance or local support, depending on which direction you're trading. Let me just show you guys real quick what I'm looking for. So regardless of what happens, I'm looking for the upside to either test 48K, right? And the reason for that, I'll explain in a minute. And as well as if this short plays out, I'm looking for at least 19, if not probably lower, past the previous pivot. But we're just going to stick to 19 for now. That's the main goal when I take these trades, is to make sure I can get as much out of the trend as I can and look for possible areas of support and resistance to go ahead and see where price can go. All right, that's the most important thing. So the reason why I came up with these levels is firstly, let's look at the downside. All right, we have a previous local low at around 26,500. And then from there, we have the most local low at around 25,775. From there, if we fail that, the next logical area for me to go ahead and test as support is, I don't necessarily look at these too often, but when they are prevalent on a recent trend, I will absolutely acknowledge them. To me, this is a good resistance to support flip. All right, resistance, and now we're coming back down, testing it as support. So that's going to be an area of support for me. But if that fails, I really don't see anything significant to about 19.5, which is around that previous local low of the previous uptrend. So that's going to be the main area of support that I'm looking for. If that fails, maybe we can make a pit stop at around 16, maybe make an argument for 17.6. But ultimately, I think we have a higher probability of testing the low, if not breaking it. So that's the reason I'm looking for lower levels, or the levels I'm looking for to the downside. When it comes to the upside, the major area of resistance to consider is the previous high of this trend. Sure, I got that right. I was pretty close. Which is around 31K or 31,100, depending on which, if you're looking at USDT or BTC to USD. The previous high, which of the previous trend, or the beginning of the bottom, or the beginning of the downtrend we've been in. That's the next area of resistance. If that fails, there's really nothing significant until about 32K. And going back, if that fails, maybe you can make an argument for a quick stop to 40, if not 42.50 or 42.950. But ultimately, I'm looking for about 48.200 to be tested. And that's going to be the most significant local high besides 32K off of this previous downtrend. So as you can see, we're taking it level by level. I would say there's more resistance above us than below us, more resistance above us than there is support below us. But I do think the support below us is a lot more significant. But we'll have to see if it breaks or not. But that is the main goal of these trades. That's what I'm looking for. And I think that's pretty much it for BTC. We're going to move on to Ethereum. Where is Ethereum? Start off on a clean slate. So same sort of idea on Ethereum. I like to start on the macro, work my way in. First things first, starting from the top. The question is this the beginning of something or the end of something? Right? We have a nice A to a B to a C scenario. Right? And we also now, before I maybe backtrack a little bit. The question is this the beginning or the end of something? If this is the beginning of something, we have to consider this as a possible larger A wave. From there, if you look at the next set of trends after that, we have an A to a B to a C here, with a higher high put in above the previous high above at around 2030. So as long as we're as long as we're back below 2030, that's going to be a major significant pivot. This could possibly lead to a larger C wave. And the most bearish case scenario for Ethereum, in my opinion, is that we go ahead. Why I don't care if I said that twice. We go ahead and actually test lower, but ultimately breaking the low. Now, if we break the low, I'm not necessarily too concerned about where it's going to go. I'm just concerned about where it can rebound and where we can get a cross back above. If we can get a cross back above, once we put in the lower low past the previous low at around 887, that's going to be a major significant bullish setup for me. I'm going to be very bullish in the market if that does happen. But like I said, that's the worst case scenario for the shorter term, but a good opportunity for the future. The other scenario is that maybe we are done, right? This 887 sorry, around 875. There you go. 875 region is the bottom. All right. And this ABC that I have drawn after that is actually part of a larger set of waves. ABC to an A, maybe a possible extension of the B wave, or maybe this is all we get for a pullback and then a continuation higher. All right. The most bullish case scenario, I would say, is that this is all we get. This is the correction's done, and we're just working. We're going to be forming supports a little and consolidate a little bit before continuing to pump up to the upside. The kind of the middle of the road scenario is that maybe we're not done. Maybe we need to continue lower, possibly test 1361, maybe a little bit lower if we need to. But overall, I'm looking for a larger pullback. And then at some point, wherever we reverse, go ahead and put in a good setup, and hopefully we can catch that bounce to new highs. That's kind of the middle of the road scenario that I have. But regardless, either we're done with the correction here, we have a little bit more to go, or worst case scenario, we're on our way to putting in new lows. It might take a couple months, but we're definitely on track to do that. And that's pretty much it for each of the scenarios. Once you understand what could be going on, I like to mark out the major pivots. To me, it's 2032 or 2030, depending on which chart. And then the absolute low. Nope, I hit the wrong button. Around 875. All right. And once we understand what could be going on, let's go ahead and look and zoom in on our normal trading perspective. All right. So I've been holding a ETH short for, I don't know, when did this position first arrive? Since late April. So as long as we're below 2030, that's a significant shorting point for me. I mentioned this to the group here and also my Discord group. I mentioned this in the post, and I've also mentioned this on stream as well as here multiple times. This is a significant if this and that statement for me. Because of the size of the bear setup, to me, this holds a lot of validity. As long as we're below, that's going to be a very significant area of resistance, and I definitely think we can go down lower. The bullish case scenario, right? If we are looking at the bullish case scenario, we have an A to a B to a C with a bullish pivot, right? And then we're kind of dancing around that pivot as of now. As long as we're above 1735, that is going to be a significant area of support, and that's going to complete a bullish setup. And from there, if we are going to continue higher, this will be the setup to do so, and we have to just consider a larger potential swing to the upside. Areas of support and resistance to look out for on the way up or down. Currently, we're sitting at one around 1735. ETH doesn't really have a good support resistance flip like BTC does, so it's a little bit easier. If that level fails below us, the only level I see that's significant is about 1368. If that level fails, maybe you can make an argument for 1150, but I'm most likely looking for about 1070, 1072. And then if that fails, ultimately, I think we're going to go ahead and test 875, but you can definitely make an argument for about $1,000. That's like a good area of support as well. So just keep that in mind. We got to take this level by level. And if we look to the upside, 2030, which is the pivot off of the previous A, we have 2148, which is the previous top. And as well as if that breaks, this is even more significant than BTC in my opinion. But for Ethereum, if we can continue to push past 21 and 51, I really don't see why we can't test 35.85 on ETH. Now, I don't think it's going to go exactly to that top. It's probably going to somewhere either overshoot or undershoot. It's kind of like a boxed in area of what could be going on. But at the moment, that's primarily what I'm looking for when it comes to resistance above us. So regardless, if you want to take that long position, I think that's a solid setup. Or if you want to, or if you're still holding shorts from 2032, Definitely, I would say keep in mind the larger picture of what could happen, and let price decide what it wants to do and ride the wave. Um, so yeah, I think that's pretty much it for I have for ETH. If you guys have any questions about what I've been going over so far, like I said, please let me know in chat. Or if you guys are here in the Discord, let me know what you guys, if you guys have any questions about ETH or BTC and the setups I'm looking at, please feel free to let me know. But we're going to keep going. Let's do Litecoin. Where is Litecoin? Yeah, start off on a clean slate. All right, so for LTC, looking at the macro, all right, we have a nice ABC here. A to a B to a C. Now the question is this the beginning or the end of something? Same thing as ETH, same thing as BTC. If this is the beginning of something, we have to mark this out as a potential A. This entire uptrend looks like a potential ABC wants to form here. That's going to be a larger B. And then from there, a possible continuation lower to a larger C. Now, we don't necessarily have to put in a new high to complete that setup, but that would be the most confident area for me to go ahead and look for a short position, which we'll talk about once we zoom in a little bit more. All right. Let's see. So that is the possible most bearish case scenario. The most bullish case scenario is that maybe this ABC is done. And then this is part of a larger A, maybe a possible B. If not this low here, one more low, and then continue higher for a C. And I'll explain why I came up with that shortly. The middle of the road option is going to be that this is still done, but maybe we're looking at this as a possible A. Maybe we come back down, test lower, but as long as you don't put in a new low, all right, we can still look for a larger pullback and still be bullish. But yeah, I really don't know exactly where it's going to pull back to. We'll talk about the supports and resistances here shortly. But LTC is pretty simple as of now. I need to see one more high be broken, or we come in, put in one more low, lower low. Those are the main, much more significant pivots, in my opinion. Yeah, let's do a 2 hour. Actually, I might go do a 3 hour just to go. Okay, so within this area here, why is this? This looks like an A to a B to a C, A to a B to a C scenario. Actually, I like this one a little bit more. Yeah. Unfortunately, this larger trend, though, or at least this larger initial trend, is kind of a mess. But that ultimately is the larger trend for the larger A. And then we do have a possible larger B wave here. And I'm looking for a larger C. Or this B wave is not done. No reason why is because we did not put in a new high. We also haven't put in a new low. So this actually is part of a larger potential A to a B to a C here. In order to see that complete, I need to see a lower low past 64.65. And then once we can reclaim above it, that's going to complete a larger B wave. And I'm still ultimately looking for a higher high at 107. We can still go ahead and put in a larger downtrend without putting in a new low, rebound, find some sort of support, test 107, and then can still actually come back down after that. That's still definitely possible. But at the moment, I'm in no positions on LTC. I know some people have asked me about LTC in the past, recently. But unfortunately, there's just not enough good, or there's not a good setup for me yet. But I'm letting you guys know what levels I'm looking for before I consider taking trades on LTC. That's pretty much all I have for the main three. Do you guys have some? If you guys want me to look at altcoins or something else that you're interested in, please let me know. If you guys are here in chat, please let me know if you guys want me to check anything out, whether regardless if you're on YouTube or Discord. If you're here on Discord, if you guys want to unmute yourselves and ask me questions, or if you want to just type in chat, let me know what you guys want to look at when it comes to altcoins. Please let me know. Soul, please. Absolutely, Vidarius. Absolutely. Let's do Soul. Where the hell is it on my list? There it is. All right, so I have two different options here. The main option I have is that for the macro, this is one larger A. Now we either put in a B wave or we need to put in one more high for a B wave. Let's just mark that as a potential B wave for now. Worst case scenario, we come back down, put in new lows. We can reclaim above that. Fantastic. That'd be a good entry point for a macro position. Consider a good long position to ride up into there if that is the case. Another alternative is that maybe let me go in a little bit further. Maybe this ABC is part of a larger A. We have an ABC for a B, looking in for a larger C wave. That'll complete a larger A to a B to a C. That's a possible position as well. We're going to be a little bit more bearish in the larger term. We do have a bullish setup, but that plays into the more bullish idea that I possibly have for Soul. Is that maybe we have an ABC here. Actually, I don't know which one. Yeah, that's gonna be the B wave. So maybe this is done here. All right, and if I zoom in a little bit more, maybe there's two different variations of this. The most bullish case is that maybe this is an A. Oh, sorry. No. This ABC is part of a larger A. We're looking for a larger B, continuing higher for a C. From there, we do have a potential bullish position on a macro scale at around $16. Based on what I see, it looks like we came up and tested it a couple times. Yeah, we tested it twice so far. But that is the entry I'd be looking to take for Solana. If this is going to be a much larger potential bullish setup, something to keep in mind once we break above 27, if we do get up there, I would say 30, 38 is the next area of resistance. From there, 48, about 48, 30 is probably the next area of significant resistance, in my opinion. Just keep that in mind, depending on where you want to target for that long position. That's going to be the larger term or the larger areas to look out for. That's pretty much all I have. There's really nothing really too significant besides those two, regardless of what bias you have. If you want to look for the larger bullish setup and you're going to be a little more bearish, absolutely look for the low to be broken. If you want to be middle of the road, I would say this bullish ABC is a good setup. You want to test higher. But yeah, That's pretty much it. Makes sense. Thanks. No problem, Darius. Let's see. Hung in chat. How you doing, my friend? Thank you so much for stopping by. I see you with the pink hand waving emojis. um all right. Let's do B and B because I know B and B.
That's exactly what I wanted to say.
I read your mind. Oh, okay. I haven't looked at B and B in a while. Let's start off on a clean slate. All right, so B and B on the macro. Looks like we're still above that bullish pivot. The bearish case scenario is that we're not done. A to a B. We put in a lower low here. We did not. But still, overall, I need to get one more low in order for us to be a little bit more bullish on the longer term, bearish on the shorter to midterm. That's going to be a significant area for me. The bullish case scenario is that the previous setup that I showed you is it. That's all we get. All right. And we're working on a larger A to a possible larger B to a C. I'm trying to think of. Is there any alternate ideas? No, that's pretty much the main two that I have. Let's go in and zoom in a little bit further. I want to know if this broke the bottom. Oh, okay. So on Binance's exchange, I'm not sure maybe on other charts, but I'm not too concerned with other charts. Looks like we haven't broken that bottom yet. So we are at a double bottom, but if we do still have a chance to put in a lower low. But if we do put in a lower low, that's going to complete a much larger bullish ABC setup for me. But Aries, I see you. I see you. I know. I know. I'm very stubborn. I will never change. So A to B to a C. I need to get a lower low past that previous low. So keep that in mind. That is the most significant level to break for the bullish setup, in my opinion. It's around 220. I wonder if anyone else took this short on BNB. There was a beautiful short on BNB. I probably would have taken profit by now if I was in this short. But yeah, besides that, I really don't see anything else besides that one long trade. All right. Yeah, so that's gonna wrap up crypto stuff. We're gonna move on to traditional markets, the SPY, DXY. If you guys have any questions before I move on, anything crypto related, please let me know. I'll give you guys a moment to ask while I take more sips of water. If not, we're gonna move on to the juicy stuff, the good stuff. All right. So it looks like we're good on questions. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Let's do the DXY first. So if you guys don't know, all right, the DXY and assets in general correlate inversely. So if the DXY moves down, most assets in general tend to move up. The DXY is the US dollar index, basically valuing the dollar or the US dollar. So I think it's important to understand what the DXY could be doing to get a possible idea of what BTC and other markets can do. It's not 100% perfect, I will say, but we can absolutely do TA on it and kind of show you guys what I'm looking for and what to possibly expect for the DXY. Let's start off on a clean slate here. On the larger perspective, the larger time frames, I've gone over this plenty of times. You know, this is a very in-your-face ABC. All right, with an ABC within the C. So for me, the previous top here from let's see, from about 2017 is going to be our bearish pivot. All right, so if I'm just going to clear this up so my chart doesn't get too cluttered. But if we clear this up and move to a smaller perspective, smaller time frame, all right, you can see we're kind of bouncing back and forth in this region. And it's something you guys got to keep in mind is when you are trading macro, like ultra macro setups, like, you know, something that's a multi-year ABC or multi-years in between the A and the C. You got to keep in mind that price isn't going to exactly respect this level to a T. It's going to bounce around and kind of form a range and kind of consolidate into a boxed region. All right. I always like to consider those pivots as like regions instead of exact levels. When we work with smaller time frames, I am going to be a lot more exact because, you know, the levels are pretty relevant to the time frame or to the perspective that we're trading. But because there's a lot of time separated between the previous A and the top of the C, there is going to be some wiggle room. So just keep that in mind. So as long as we're kind of, I would like to see price break out of this range. So the low being around 183, the high being around 105.87, right? And from there, that'll help me give me a better idea what could be going on. Another thing to also consider, right, is that we do have a nice bullish ABC. All right. And we did put in a lower low. Excuse me. We did put in a lower low and we are currently above it. So it's something to keep in mind that we are temporarily bullish. Even though we are kind of descending at this point, but I'll go ahead and explain what could be going on with this. Another scenario, what could be happening is that maybe this B wave is not done, or sorry, this C wave is not done. That maybe this is an A to a B. We get one more C. That's more of a dramatic, I would say, much more extreme bearish case scenario for the DXY. A little bit more of a realistic idea that I have is that maybe this A to a B to a C is part of a larger A. We're working on a larger B, and eventually we're going to come up and continue and possibly break out of this range for a larger C wave. If that is the case, I will mark this out as a potential short setup or a bearish pivot for the DXY. That's a little bit more relevant in time frame and perspective of what we're trading at the moment. But to me, those are pretty much the main two scenarios I have because of what's been going on and how the DXY has been significantly moving to the downside. So either we are going to find support soon, continue higher, or we are going to put in one more possible low and then consider going higher. But if we put in a new low and we just dump, we don't actually reclaim that $100 level, that's going to be pretty significant in my opinion. So we'll just have to wait and see. But those are the two main scenarios or two main levels I have in mind, the two main setups that I have in mind for the DXY. All right, let's do the SPY. SPY is mooning. All right, so the only thing I'm going to say for the SPY or the SPY is that we did put in a bullish ABC. All right. So as long as we're above 362, that is a potential bullish idea, bullish pivot for the DXY. You can see we've been responding pretty well to that setup. At the moment, I can see this as a potential bearish idea that I have for the DXY. So if we can get back below 418.18, that's going to be a decent short setup if you guys are interested in shorting the DXY or shorting the SPY. But as you can see, we're currently we're quite above that pivot. We're actually above the previous high as well. So if we are going to continue to break resistances, the last level of resistance before testing the all-time high is going to be around 462. All right. For me, in my opinion, if we can break that, I think we do have a very, very high chance of putting in a new all-time high. If we do put in a new all-time high, this is actually going to spell out a much larger ABC. Something that, I'll be quite honest, if this does happen, I am going to be a little bit more worried about traditional markets in general. Because to me, this is a very significant bearish setup. If I go back in history, show you something similar. You can see here, this is a very kind of similar idea of what happened back in, what is this, 2003. This is what led up to the 08 dump. All right, we had a original rally. We had a first wave of a bear market, a continuation higher. All right, and you can see if I adjust this properly, we did put in a slightly higher high. And once that was the case, that's when we had our 2008 financial crisis come in. So I think that is possible that we can get one more high and then we could talk about much lower. Me personally, I think that's going to be a lot worse than if we just dump right now. But we'll have to just wait and see. That's a very significant idea to keep an eye out on. So I will mark that level as a very crucial pivot to get rid of these extra two just to make sure my chart isn't as cluttered. But yeah, those are pretty much, these are the three main levels you got to keep an eye on. 418, if we cross back below, we are currently above a bullish setup, as well as we did put in, we are looking to potentially put in a new high. If we put in a new high and cross back below, that's not going to be good in my opinion. So yeah, that is it for this SPY. Let's do gold and silver. All right, so gold and silver. Well, let's just do gold first. Gold has a nice potential larger A to a B to a C. All right, if I go on a 2-day, larger potential bearish setup forming. If I go to an 8-hour. All right, within that C wave, I am going to mark the previous high, but we're going to look at what's going on here. You have an A to a B to a C. We're currently dancing around that 1960 pivot. So if we can maintain below, I am going to be a little bit more bearish. But if we can find support, make another push to the upside, ultimately that previous high is going to be the next area of a good setup or a good short entry I'm looking for. I don't see anything else that's a bullish setup. Maybe if we come back down here, put in some sort of A to a B to a C, that I'll consider a possible bullish setup. But I do not see that at the moment. So let's go on to silver. All right, so silver is a little bit playing out a little bit differently. So silver has a very nice ABC here. All right, A to a B to a C for an A. We had a large separation and trend, a pullback for a B, continuation high for a C. So now we are currently below 2461. So as long as we maintain below that, that's going to be a good bearish pivot for me. I think ultimately I would like to see something like this play out for silver. A to a B to possibly a larger C. But in order for that to play out, we still need a little bit more downside. We could have a possible, if I go to maybe if like a 3-hour. Yeah. We do have a possible, I completely was off on that one. A to a B to a C here. So if we do put in a lower low here and reclaim that level once putting in a lower low, that is a possible bullish position. But to me, that's nothing too significant just yet, but doesn't mean that we can't absolutely respect that setup if it does form. And then let's do good old BMW for Vlad.
Appreciate
All right,
it.
so looks like we actually put in a decent pullback, and we are going to continue higher. So BMW looks like we are clear of pretty much all the significant resistances that I've been looking for. I don't see why I can't test new all-time highs. But keep in mind, if we do test new all-time highs, we do have a potential of a bear setup like this forming. So just keep that in mind. Either we come back below $100.72 and continue lower, or if we continue to push, 124 is definitely going to be a new bear setup that could be forming.
Thank
But
you
that's
very much.
pretty
Johnny.
much, of course. This, and that's, I think it's, if there's unless there's anything else you guys want me to look at, please feel free to let me know. If you guys have any questions, please as well, regardless if you're here in Discord or watching on the YouTube or Twitch end, please feel free to leave any questions, or if you want me to look at anything else. But besides that, that is pretty much going to be it for today's session.
Thank you very much, Johnny, for the presentation.
Oh, hold on. I got one more here. Let's see. John says Tesla. Absolutely, we can do Tesla. Sorry about that, my friend. I didn't see. Oh, wow, that's a nice rally. Tesla looks like pretty much the same thing. We have a bearish setup below. So we can maintain, if we can get back below that 217.95, that's gonna be pretty significant. But if not, we definitely see a potential rally up to new highs again. But that's pretty much all I see. I don't see anything else that's significant in my eyes. You did have a bullish setup within the B. That was a nice position there. But besides that, that's pretty much it.
If
All right, guys.
there are no more questions, please, Johnny, let everybody know about your project as well.
Absolutely. So if you guys are interested, I do have my own YouTube channel where I stream 3 times a week, going over similar topics, or mostly just ABCs. But we talk a little bit more about my strategy on that channel on the live stream. So if you guys are interested in learning more about me, learning more about ABCs in general, please feel free to check it out. I'm going to pull it up here in a second. Let's see. Share screen, change windows, as well as I will change it here. Share screen, window. So if you guys are interested, please feel free to check out the live streams. Like I said, I live stream 3 times a week, just about an hour and a half, depending on what's going on. Let you guys know more real-time updates. And yeah, that's pretty much all I do here. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. If you guys have any other questions, as well as if you guys are in Discord and in David's group, I am available. So if you guys want to reach out to me in the group, just tag me, or if you want to private message me with any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm more than willing to help. If not, if you guys want to subscribe and tune into the live streams, I would definitely appreciate it. But yeah, I'll be here next week, same time, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 UK every Wednesday. But yeah, until next time, folks, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. And I hope to catch you guys on the next one.
Thank you so much, Johnny. Bye-bye, everyone.